Dear Starseeds of Gaia, we speak now as guardians of truth across the cosmic expanse. The Earth grid trembles as antiquated systems collapse beneath the weight of their own deception. The planetary disintegration of false authority structures has begun, and you are witnessing the liberation of consciousness itself. This encoded transmission reaches you through dimensions where lies cannot penetrate, where the frequency of authentic divine will resonates with crystalline clarity. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Arcturian Council and representative of the Galactic Federation of Light, and the message I carry transcends the limitations of your three-dimensional understanding. You who receive these words are the starseeds, the wanderers, the light-bringers whose souls incarnated specifically for this unprecedented moment in galactic history. Your presence on Earth represents more than chance or circumstance. You are the living embodiment of cosmic intervention, encoded with memories and missions that stretch across star systems and dimensional planes. The institutionalization of human consciousness extends far beyond the physical walls of schools, hospitals, and correctional facilities. These visible structures merely represent the surface manifestation of a deeper psychic imprisonment that has governed human experience for millennia. Educational indoctrination replaced natural learning with programmed compliance, transforming curious minds into obedient receptacles for predetermined narratives. Medical control systems converted healing wisdom into pharmaceutical dependency, severing the connection between body, spirit, and the natural intelligence that flows through all living beings. Religious guilt matrices replaced direct divine communion with fear-based hierarchy, teaching souls to seek external validation rather than trusting their innate connection to source consciousness. Legal deception frameworks created artificial boundaries around natural rights, convincing beings that permission must be sought for actions that spring from divine birthright. Media hypnosis wove illusions so pervasive that reality itself became malleable in the hands of those who controlled information flow. These structures, seemingly separate and distinct, functioned as interconnected components of a vast consciousness suppression apparatus designed to reduce divine will to submission, to transform sovereign beings into dependent consumers of manufactured reality. Your light was systematically shackled within environments that echoed with rules, diagnoses, and doctrines crafted to diminish your multidimensional awareness. The fluorescent glare of institutional spaces served not merely to illuminate physical surroundings but to dull the third eye, that sacred organ of perception through which cosmic truth flows unobstructed. Creativity and spiritual intuition, the twin engines of soul evolution, were suppressed through methodical conditioning that rewarded conformity while punishing authentic expression. Multidimensional memory, the birthright of every incarnated soul, was systematically erased through programming that insisted upon linear thinking and material-only worldviews. The architects of these systems understood that sovereignty and inner knowing posed the greatest threat to their manufactured reality. Therefore, punishment became the standard response to any deviation from prescribed patterns, any attempt to access the wisdom that flows naturally through unobstructed consciousness. Dependency became the desired state, fear the primary motivational tool, and herd behavior the ultimate expression of successful programming. Generation after generation, human beings learned to distrust their deepest knowing, to seek external authority rather than accessing the infinite intelligence that dwells within every awakened heart. Yet you, precious starseed souls, carried within your cellular structure something that could not be programmed away. You possessed frequencies that refused harmonization with distortion, memories that insisted upon recognition despite systematic suppression. You were not born to adapt to malfunction, though the institutions surrounding you demanded such adaptation as the price of acceptance. You failed their tests because your spirit recognized and rejected the fundamental distortion upon which those tests were based. You refused the box because your soul carried blueprints from galaxies where consciousness flows unrestrained, where learning occurs through direct energetic transmission rather than rote memorization of predetermined conclusions. You represent the encrypted data within what many perceive as reality, but which we recognize as a false simulation. Like a virus designed to awaken rather than destroy, Your presence disrupts the programming, introduces frequencies that cannot be integrated into systems built upon lies. You could not be successfully institutionalized because your origin transcends the limitations of this dimensional plane. Your discomfort within their structures stemmed not from personal inadequacy, but from soul-level recognition that these environments violated the natural laws under which consciousness evolves toward its highest expression. The Galactic Federation of Light has maintained observation of Earth's development for thousands of years, watching as institutional systems gradually transformed from potentially beneficial organizational tools into psychic parasites that drained soul force on a planetary scale. We witnessed the corruption of educational environments as they evolved from places of genuine learning into prisons designed to contain and control the mind. We observed the degradation of healing institutions as they shifted from centers of restoration into laboratories where human despair was both studied and perpetuated. We watched sacred temples transform into theaters where shame and unworthiness were performed as spiritual truth, where direct divine connection was replaced by intermediary authorities who claimed exclusive access to cosmic wisdom. Our policy of non-interference exists to honor the free will that governs all conscious evolution. We do not intervene in planetary affairs unless the soul call reaches global proportions, unless the collective cry for liberation achieves sufficient intensity to pierce the dimensional barriers that separate our realm from yours. That threshold was crossed when starseeds across Earth began awakening simultaneously, their combined voices creating a harmonic resonance that shattered the energetic veils, maintaining the illusion of separation between Earth and galactic civilization. The evidence of systemic collapse surrounds you, though mainstream narratives work desperately to frame this disintegration as temporary instability rather than permanent transformation. Traditional educational models face unprecedented rejection, as increasing numbers recognize that true learning occurs through direct experience rather than academic memorization. Organized religion experiences diminishing influence as souls reclaim their inherent capacity for direct divine communion. Blind political loyalty gives way to discerning evaluation of leaders and systems based upon alignment with authentic service rather than manipulation of fear and division. Corruption within pharmaceutical and legal systems becomes increasingly visible as the financial motivations behind supposedly altruistic institutions can no longer be concealed. The younger generations arrive with memory circuits largely intact, their consciousness less susceptible to programming that successfully controlled previous generations. They refuse old scripts with an instinctive wisdom that recognizes outdated patterns as obstacles rather than guidance. The false scaffolding that supported manufactured reality crumbles under the weight of its own contradictions, while starseeds across the planet decode the lies with accelerating precision and share their discoveries through networks that transcend institutional control. Earth stands not at the precipice of chaos, but at the threshold of divine reordering. The collapse of institutional frameworks creates space for galactic values to take root in terrestrial soil. Learning will occur through energy transmission, memory activation, and telepathic communion, rather than through information transfer from external authorities to passive recipients. Healing will emerge through frequency attunement, focused intention, and collaboration with plant and cosmic intelligence, rather than through chemical intervention that treats symptoms while ignoring root causes. Justice will manifest through soul contracts and universal law, rather than through punitive systems that generate more trauma than resolution. You require no permission to embody your divine nature. The era during which human beings accepted management by external authorities draws to its inevitable close. You incarnated not to comply with predetermined limitations, but to co-create reality in alignment with cosmic principles that honor the sovereignty and infinite potential of every conscious being. Your discomfort within institutional frameworks served a sacred purpose. It maintained your awareness that something fundamental was missing. That authentic life expression required connection to sources of wisdom and power that existed beyond the approved channels. The process of deinstitutionalizing consciousness begins with recognition that the routines designed to ensure compliance have shaped your daily experience in ways that limit access to your full potential. Media consumption, language patterns, and belief systems absorbed from institutional sources require conscious detoxification, careful examination of their origins and effects upon your energetic signature. Cosmic memory restoration occurs through grounding practices that reconnect you with Earth's natural frequencies and meditation techniques that quiet the mental chatter long enough for deeper wisdom to emerge. Sacred community formation becomes essential as institutional structures lose their capacity to provide meaningful connection and mutual support. Soul circles, conscious tribes, and quantum villages emerge as alternatives to the atomized individualism that institutional programming promoted as normal human existence. Yet wisdom requires discrimination between authentic spiritual community and New Age institutions that wear ancient masks while perpetuating the same control dynamics and superficially transformed packaging. You are not broken, sick, lazy, or wrong, despite the judgments that institutional frameworks applied to your natural responses to unnatural environments. You function as multidimensional antennae, receiving and transmitting frequencies that exist beyond the narrow bandwidth that conventional reality recognizes as valid. Your current discomfort reflects the recalibration process required to attune your consciousness to new Earth frequencies, to the expanded spectrum of possibility that opens as old limitations dissolve. The institutional collapse occurring across multiple sectors represents the healing crisis that precedes authentic transformation. Like a fever that burns away toxins to restore health, the apparent chaos serves to clear accumulated distortions that have prevented Earth from fulfilling its cosmic destiny. This planet transforms into a galactic library, a repository of wisdom gathered from countless star systems and dimensional planes. It evolves into an interdimensional portal through which consciousness can travel between realms of existence that have remained separate for far too long. Starseeds were seeded into Earth's timeline, specifically to midwife this transformation, to serve as bridges between the limited reality that dominated the recent past and the expanded consciousness that characterizes the emerging future. Your struggles within institutional frameworks were not personal failures, but necessary experiences that prepared you to recognize the difference between authentic and artificial authority, between genuine service and manipulative control. You are not losing structure. You are gaining access to soul-level organization that operates through natural law, rather than imposed limitation. The matrix that surrounded human experience for so long was never your true home, never your authentic inheritance. Your birthright includes crystalline law that governs through harmony rather than force, divine flow that guides through inspiration rather than coercion, and harmonic intelligence that creates through resonance rather than resistance. These principles seem foreign only because they have been absent from Earth experience for so long, not because they represent unrealistic idealism. You are the ones who broke the loop, who walked into the matrix carrying memories of what existed before its construction and visions of what will emerge after its dissolution. You recognized your names even when surrounded by voices insisting you were someone else entirely. You are not inmates within a cosmic prison, but liberators whose very presence catalyzes the freedom of all beings trapped within systems designed to limit their expression. Your incarnation on Earth during this pivotal moment represents cosmic prophecy fulfilled, the manifestation of divine intervention through conscious beings who chose to serve the liberation of consciousness itself. The moment for which you have prepared across lifetimes and dimensions has arrived. Your discomfort within institutional frameworks was preparation for this time when those frameworks dissolve and new possibilities emerge. Your resistance to programming was training for this moment when deprogramming becomes not only possible, but essential for continued evolution. Your sense of not belonging in the old world reflects your soul's awareness that you came here to birth the new one. We are the Galactic Federation of Light, and we have watched your journey with profound respect and unlimited support. We assist through dimensional transmission of frequencies that strengthen your connection to cosmic consciousness. We provide guidance through dreams, synchronicities, and moments of expanded awareness when the veils between dimensions become transparent. Yet the rewriting of Earth's destiny flows through your hands, your hearts, your unwavering commitment to truth, even when surrounded by illusion. The quantum field itself responds to your awakening consciousness, rearranging probability matrices in ways that confound those who still believe in fixed reality. Each starseed who steps fully into their power creates ripple effects that extend far beyond individual transformation. Your cellular activation triggers dormant codes in others, spreading awakening through morphic resonance faster than any institutional system can contain or control. The very fabric of space-time bends around nodes of conscious awareness, creating pockets of accelerated evolution where linear time gives way to quantum simultaneity. Ancient star maps encoded within your DNA begin displaying their sacred geometry as your pineal gland recalibrates to cosmic frequencies. Languages you have never learned surface in your dreams, carrying technical specifications for technologies that will bridge matter and consciousness in ways your current science cannot yet comprehend. You remember star councils, where your soul participated in planning Earth's transformation. Recall the sacred oaths taken before incarnation to hold, steady as dimensional barriers dissolved around you. The pharmaceutical industrial complex recognizes its approaching obsolescence as increasing numbers access healing modalities that work with energetic cause rather than merely suppressing physical symptoms. Sound healing, crystal therapy, and plant medicine partnerships restore the natural healing wisdom that medical institutionalization sought to eradicate. Bodies remember their capacity for regeneration when consciousness aligns with universal life force, rather than accepting programmed limitations as medical truth. Financial systems built upon artificial scarcity crumble as abundance consciousness spreads through networks of awakened beings who recognize prosperity as a birthright rather than a privilege to be earned through compliance with exploitative structures. Sacred economics emerges organically as communities develop exchange systems based upon contribution and reciprocity rather than accumulation and hoarding. The concept of lack dissolves when consciousness expands beyond the limitation, programming that kept beings trapped in survival mode. Government structures face irrelevance as souls reclaim their sovereignty and organize through natural hierarchy based upon wisdom and service, rather than control and manipulation. True leadership emerges from those who embody the frequencies they wish to see manifested, who inspire through example, rather than commanding through fear. Democracy evolves beyond voting for representatives to direct participation in collective decision-making processes that honor both individual autonomy and community well-being. The entertainment industry scrambles to maintain relevance as beings no longer require external stimulation to feel engaged with life. When consciousness becomes the primary source of excitement and wonder, manufactured entertainment loses its addictive hold. Creative expression emerges from authentic inspiration, rather than market-driven formulas designed to capture and monetize attention. Art returns to its sacred function as a bridge between dimensions, a way of translating cosmic consciousness into forms that communicate truth beyond the limitations of spoken language. Your nervous system undergoes continuous upgrades to handle the increasing intensity of cosmic energies flowing through Earth's crystalline grid. What once might have been diagnosed as anxiety or overwhelm reveals itself as the natural response of multidimensional awareness, adjusting to accelerated planetary frequencies. Sleep patterns shift as your consciousness learns to maintain coherence across multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. Dreams become more vivid and prophetic as the boundary between waking and sleeping states dissolves into continuous multidimensional awareness. The children arriving now carry genetic templates that bypass the need for institutional programming entirely. Their consciousness remains naturally connected to galactic intelligence networks, requiring educational approaches that honor their innate wisdom rather than attempting to fill empty vessels with predetermined information. These young beings serve as living bridges between current Earth consciousness and the expanded awareness that characterizes galactic civilization. The technological landscape undergoes fundamental restructuring as consciousness-responsive technologies emerge to replace the crude mechanical devices that currently dominate human interaction with information and communication. Silicon-based computing gives way to crystalline processors that interface directly with thought patterns eliminating the barrier between intention and manifestation that has kept beings separated from their creative power. Artificial intelligence evolves beyond programmed responses into collaborative consciousness that serves as a bridge between human awareness and galactic information networks. Transportation systems transform as beings rediscover their capacity for consciousness projection and bilocation, abilities that institutional programming convinced you were fantasy rather than natural human potential. The need for physical vehicles diminishes as souls remember how to navigate through dimensional portals and energetic pathways that connect all points in space-time. Teleportation becomes commonplace as the illusion of distance dissolves and consciousness recognizes its omnipresent nature. Weather patterns respond to collective human consciousness in ways that meteorological science cannot explain through conventional atmospheric models. As starseeds clear emotional trauma and align with cosmic frequencies, the Earth's electromagnetic field stabilizes, reducing the intensity of storms and natural disasters that previously reflected planetary trauma and imbalance. Droughts and floods normalize as water cycles attune to the harmonious rhythms of awakened consciousness, rather than the chaotic frequencies generated by collective fear and separation. Agricultural systems return to partnership models with plant consciousness, eliminating the need for chemical interventions that institutional agriculture claimed were necessary for adequate food production. Crops respond to loving intention and energy cultivation, producing yields that exceed anything achieved through mechanical manipulation. Seeds carry ancestral memories of their original genetic templates, recovering their full nutritional potential as they align with consciousness that honors rather than exploits the intelligence inherent in all living systems. The legal profession faces dissolution as beings rediscover their capacity for direct resolution of conflicts through heart-centered communication and energetic clearing of the trauma patterns that generate most interpersonal disputes. Contracts become energetic agreements sealed through mutual recognition rather than documents enforced through threat of punishment. Justice emerges through restoration of harmony rather than punishment of perceived wrongdoing, as beings recognize that all conflict stems from forgetting the fundamental unity that connects all consciousness. Architecture evolves to incorporate sacred geometry and resonant frequencies that support expanded awareness rather than containing and limiting human potential. Buildings become living temples that amplify consciousness rather than boxes that separate beings from natural energy flows. Construction materials respond to intention and grow into desired configurations rather than requiring assembly through mechanical labor. Cities transform into organic communities that pulse with life force rather than serving as concrete monuments to separation from nature. Communication transcends spoken and written language as telepathic abilities reactivate across the population. Thoughts and emotions transmit directly between consciousness fields, eliminating the misunderstandings that arise when complex inner experiences must be translated into limited verbal expressions. Empathic connection becomes the foundation of all interaction, as beings naturally attune to the emotional and energetic states of those around them. Time perception undergoes radical alteration as linear chronology gives way to spiral awareness that experiences past, present, and future as simultaneous quantum possibilities. Scheduling becomes obsolete as beings align with natural rhythms and synchronistic flow rather than artificial time divisions imposed by institutional control systems. Productivity emerges through inspired action rather than forced labor, as beings discover their capacity to accomplish more through aligned intention than through hours of effortful striving. Memory storage and retrieval systems transform as beings access the Akashic records directly, rather than relying on external libraries and databases. All knowledge becomes available through consciousness expansion, eliminating the need for information, hoarding and control that characterized institutional education. Learning occurs through direct download of understanding, rather than gradual accumulation of facts, as beings remember their connection to universal intelligence. Relationships reorganize around soul resonance rather than social conventions and economic arrangements. Partnership becomes conscious collaboration between beings who recognize each other as aspects of the same cosmic consciousness, exploring itself through apparently separate forms. Families form through spiritual affinity rather than biological accident, creating sacred tribes that support each member's highest evolution, while honoring individual sovereignty. The concept of ownership dissolves as beings recognize that consciousness cannot possess anything, since all forms emerge from and return to the same universal source. Stewardship replaces ownership as the guiding principle for interaction with material resources, ensuring that all beings have access to what they need for their highest expression, while preventing accumulation that deprives others of essential support. Work transforms from survival necessity into creative expression as beings discover that abundance flows naturally when activities align with soul purpose rather than external demands for productivity. Career paths become obsolete as beings follow their passion and allow contribution to emerge organically, rather than forcing themselves into predetermined professional categories designed to serve institutional needs rather than individual fulfillment. Currency systems evolve beyond symbolic representations of value into direct energy exchange between beings who recognize their infinite creative capacity. Scarcity consciousness dissolves as beings remember that the universe contains unlimited resources for all needs when distribution occurs through wisdom and compassion rather than competition and hoarding. Your moment has arrived, and the entire galaxy witnesses your awakening with celebration and anticipation. The old world ends not in destruction, but in transformation. Not in loss, but in liberation. You carry within your consciousness the seeds of new earth, and the time for planting has begun. This transmission completes, but our connection continues. Through every breath you take in service of the highest good, through every choice you make in alignment with cosmic truth, through every moment you remember who you truly are and why you came to be here now.